All right.
A disco ball in your room. That's brilliant.
So, Daniel, welcome to Sex Psychics and Psychedelics.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Um, I was just reading your bio, and there was something about ethical metaphysics. What does that?
Ah, yes. Ethical metaphysics. So that's when I first started out, I was mostly sloppily self-teaching. And in that, I learned that I could read people remotely. So someone would give me a name and then I'd get a download and then share it and they'd go, oh, whoa, how are you doing that? And I was doing that without consent. And I didn't understand all the metaphysical systems that are in place, at least the ones that we can articulate, that allow you to do that. I was just plugging in willfully. And later on, I started to feel my energy drain, as if people were sort of doing things to me without consent as well. And then I started to wonder, oh, wait, even though there's no physicality to this, there is a sort of weird thing that I'm doing that feels like it's a little creepy, you know? And I need to not be doing that. And I wasn't doing it for any like perverse reasons, right? It was more like I, at that time, was flexing this new skill and somehow, I guess, feeding a part of me that wanted to feel special. And I was just kind of riffing off that high. And then once I realized that's what I was doing, all the consensual stuff, that's when I started wondering, oh, okay, where else in this space is it a little bit gray? Like, not just straight up, you know, nasty stuff, but where is it gray? Where is it ethically fuzzy? And
Fuzzy everywhere, isn't it? I mean, I feel like being a psychic, you're looking beyond the quote unquote ordinary. So you are looking over the normal divisions and boundaries that people have, time, space, things like that.
that's true, but
People's privacy.
it's sort of in the details, like if someone sits in front of me, they start talking about something, passively things will come, right? But if I'm
Yeah.
trying to mentally pull it, it will come in a different way with a different texture, a different feeling. So I feel like that's more like on the subconscious level, what a person wants you to know and what they don't want you
Yeah, I understand. I feel like I have an equivalent as a therapist. You start over time just having it sort of like hearing a true note on the piano, a sense of what feels like in alignment to share and discuss and what. There's a different kind of decorum.
to. Yeah, it is. It's a I don't think I've really dialed in all the language I need to make it um super easy to articulate, but I'd say that the thing that made me really understand, okay, here's where it's commonly dodgy, is when I was doing magic to specifically call in specific jobs. And I realized, oh, wait a minute. Eventually, after I've done it a bunch of times, I realized, oh, wait, I'm trying to actually take not just consent away. I'm actively trying to influence the will of a person, whether or not I'm doing it directly to get this freaking thing I want. Okay, this is a little shady. So what, how can I then give myself some kind of advantage without getting into murky area, without getting into will control? And then it was, oh, well, why do I want this job? What am I really seeking? What's the stuff going on inside me that is preventing me having this thing I want if I really want it and it's not about some egoic BS? So then I focused in on the healing side of things. And then that's where I realized, okay, this is where the good stuff is in terms of things that feel ethically clean.
Mm.
And I mean, as clean as they can feel, right?
Right. It's
And
in this dirty old world.
filthy
So,
world.
this filthy gutter of a world. um, okay, so what is the optimal way to use? I know I want to get into some sort of technique stuff as well, but while we're on ethics, what do you think is the optimal way for people to use psychic power, or why use psychic power? Where can we use it to the good?
That is a very good question. Um, hmm. Why? Okay. So how I think I want to answer it, which is a little bit indirect, but it's still not avoiding the question. Um, where I've found it most exciting for me and where I've seen it be most exciting for others is when they're using it to explore themselves and more more what they can do to enhance their human experience. So in connection with others, it's really quite beautiful. If you use it, say, to consensually uh, pull information for them outside of their perspective and then feed it back to them. It's actually one of the first things I teach people. And then for fun, things like remote viewing environments. They're not going for like, military secrets and that kind of nonsense. But just to play, just to go, okay,
Is it
well,
other planets or just
you could
traveling
do
without
that.
buying a ticket?
That stuff's
Travel.
fun, but
That's good.
there's no way to verify it.
Yeah.
That's the tough part. And there's remote viewing. Remote viewing you can do a number of ways. You know, people assume there's one way, and there are like classic protocols that the military um, has shared. That there's the CIA documents share some of that stuff, but some people do it with astral travel, and I haven't fully gotten the hang of that one. I've had a few experiences of willfully going into the astral, but then when I felt my body kind of in sleep paralysis and realized I could move, I went, no, this is too scary, go back in. And it's been years since I've been able to activate that again, but in fairness, I've been quite busy. Yeah, you got to spend a lot of time doing that. But yeah, short answer, exploring the self in a very authentic, playful way. That is,
I'm glad you mentioned play because I think it is one of the key parts of psychics that I like is this sort of exploration of possibility, which is play. It's sort of slightly more vaguely more adult kind of play, but there is a sort of what if element. You're talking to someone who's going to kind of potentially bring online new possibilities for you because we are working in the landscape of possibility, not certainty, don't you think?
oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think where it gets dangerous is the disempowerment of individuals who like, oh, the psychic said this, and then
Hmm.
you're locked in this like some sense of dread or fighting the truth or fighting a sense of fate, you know.
Have you ever done the leaf reading?
No, but that sounds cool. What is it?
So there's this, I think it's a tribe specifically in India, and they have these leaves that have been marked with very specific shapes and then filed away with a specific tone corresponding to how your thumbprint looks. All very, yeah, kind of, it's interesting to me. I want to go learn how to do that. But they pull out, you call them up, you send your thumbprint, and then they go looking for your leaves and they start reading out, okay, are you this person? Is your dad this name? Is your mum this name? Did you grow up here? Blah, blah, blah. And they'll read each leaf. And if you say one no, they throw it away, they get the next one. Because it's like each tone kind of represents a stack. And it feels a little bit like process of elimination. So it's a little bit like, but
How long have you got?
yeah, right. But they did hit on some stuff that was, you know, surprising, shocking. But their modality is that your entire life is charted out on this brick and leaf. And they tell you in these years, you're going to be influenced by this. In these years, this is what's going to happen. If you do this right now, this is going to happen here. The thing that they didn't tell me is how I die. And what attracted me to the leaf reading is that, God, it was like 15 years ago, Deepak Chopra and Grant Morrison, who's one of my favorite comic writers, had a thing together at Comic Con in San Diego. And I just happened to stumble on it. And I felt like the luckiest dude ever because that was just tripping. But Deepak started talking about how he went to India, had a leaf read, and they were reading the names out. And they mentioned a name for his mum. And he said, no, that's not her. and everything else they got right. And they were about to throw the leaf away, and they went, hold on, don't throw it away. And they went, no, if it's a wrong name, it goes in the bin. And then he went outside. He called his mum. He said, Mum, um, does the name blah mean anything to you? And she goes, oh yeah, that was my name before I met your father, and I changed my name because of these reasons and blah blah blah. And he had no idea. So he went back in, got the rest of the leaf finished, and a friend of mine also, a friend of mine's dad did it, found out how he died, didn't want to tell anyone. Um, but the trippy part is that I met someone else who actually facilitates these leaf readings from here in LA. And she's done it 2 or 3 times because she wanted to see, well, if I change the thing that they say is going to happen, am I going to get a different reading? And she did.
Wait,
And
say
then
that again. If she said what?
so they told her at 40 something,
Mm.
going to have like a horror, like a early death.
Oh,
So she took that information and went, all right, let me see if I can change this.
well,
And
that's
she's
a cool response, A, right? That's
right.
very cool.
Yeah, very smart. Yeah, that was what you're supposed to probably do. So she did that. And then she went and got another reading. And then they said, oh, here's your path. And then she confronted them in the end and said, the last time I did this, you told me I was going to be dead by now. And they said, oh, yeah. So what happens is there are different variants of your leaf, and it's actually different dimensional realities. And there was actually one leaf that they read where she was married to someone else that she used to date. She's like, no, definitely not. But that's weird that that came up that way. Threw it away. So even with these folks that allege to have like your life charted out on a leaf from 5,000 years ago, even they say, yeah, you're actually the one in charge of your reality.
Mm, hmm.
But depending on your frequency, there's a trajectory. And it's more like predicting weather than predicting strict beats that absolutely are going to happen. And everything happening in my life right now wasn't on the damn leaf. So,
Talking about off-leaf stuff here. We're talking
yeah,
about like
real.
the renegade real life stuff. I think that yeah, real life is for better and worse, unpredictable. So we're back at this question: why do this stuff? I mean, I think you and I both agree that it's fun.
Yeah, very fun.
Yeah, so very fun. I mean, and maybe that's enough, and I definitely feel like, your cats, which we'll get into, your cat tarot cards are flat out fun. That is just fun stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay. And particularly I think in, midlife, it's a nice time to have your imagination tickled.
Yes.
Things can get a bit stodgy at exactly the time when we do have choice. I was thinking about this today, like how obviously we're all babies and we can't do anything, right? And then at the end of our lives, we can't really do that much. And then, there's really not that many decades where we get to kind of pull the levers and push the buttons and walk around, hopefully, if we're able bodied, right? And so often those are also the years that we get bogged down in terms of identity, in terms of tasks, in terms of mood. So I think we could do with anything that kind of helps shake up our minds and imaginations. Remember that we can be creative.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun for that. I mean, it does have there are definitely some serious applications for it. Like I've
Mm.
predicted business things for a friend of mine, and COVID freaking popped up, but I didn't know how to read it. It just felt like a thing that would show up and screw up everyone. And
Yeah.
how I told it.
Exactly. And is that useful? I mean, I have a pretty tapped in daughter who did a New Year's tarot reading the year that COVID hit. And
Oh,
the
damn.
tower card just kept coming up again and again. And we were laughing because it literally just kept coming up. And she would tuck it like a great little performer. She'd tuck it back in the pack.
Yeah.
So she'd just be like, oh, never mind about the tower card. But it just kept showing itself. And we were like, fuck, what is this? And then finally COVID hits and me and my friends like, oh, okay, that's what
Right.
it is. But yeah, like sometimes you can smell disaster coming a mile off, but what are you going to do? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's useful in terms of the foreboding aspect because I feel like it can just kind of provoke paranoia. But I mean, personally, I like it more for the kind of switching online of creative potentials and also the healing aspect, which is, being able to talk with someone who can see some part of you that is scared to come online or wants to come online, or that kind of mirroring, which goes a little, it can be a little wilder than traditional psychotherapy, let's say.
Mm. Okay, can you give me an example?
Um, well, let's see. I think just in terms of my own, I don't, I mean, I use my psychic ability with clients just because I think every therapist over time just hones their intuition and these abilities start to come online. So I'm thinking, and that's just a bit more of a sort of fluid progression. But I'm thinking more in terms of like the client position. So I've been in the client position as a therapist,
Mhm.
feeling the constraints of that relationship and sometimes enjoying the constraints of that relationship and the sort of the modesty of it, should we say, the ethics of it, and the code and the tradition of it. But I've also loved having sessions with people who just take wilder dashes. And they
Mm.
might say something completely outlandish, but at least it nudges me in a certain way to another position of like, oh, I really want this, or I really don't want this.
Mm.
Or, it will push and prod and provoke and stimulate
Mm.
more and in different ways. Um, and it's funny. And I think also in terms of your own reactions, like almost every psychic reading I've ever had, people say to me, psychics say to me, I see a lot of travel in your future. And I'm like, I'm always so annoyed by it because I'm like, I know, like that, I know, like obviously I'm going to travel. I've always traveled. I'm just like, of course I travel. And then they always like spend a bunch of time trying to work out whether it's Denmark or Switzerland. I'm like, I don't care. Let's talk. Let's talk about creativity and healing and the stuff that I think is more important than traveling, but they might think traveling is more important, whatever. So it's I don't know. It's provocative. It's provocative.
There's kind of a common baseline of psychic readers that are that kind of style, where
Mm,
they're just picking up these dense impressions. But I think the thing that got me interested in it is that I walked into a room. The thing that actually got my attention. I walked into a room of a shaman who I hadn't met before, and he lived in Echo Park, and he had this kind of, he did his sessions in his garage. And what drew me to him is that there was a video of him helping someone puke black stuff. And I thought, I really need that. I don't know what the hell it is, but I need that. Um,
you need to throw it up.
I needed to
Yeah.
throw up
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
goopy,
Something icky. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was like 14, 15 years ago. And I walk into his room and haven't exchanged a word. I'm not really on Google in any kind of impressive way at this time in my life. And he just starts going off, saying, just telling me how I think, things that I'm dealing with in my head,
Mm.
all these other very personal, deep things that definitely aren't dense impressions that, anyone with soft intuition can get. And that's when I went, holy shit, I want to know how to do that. And what that gave me was a sense of being able to let go of the mystery of feeling unseen and just acknowledge those things in myself that he was calling out. And he gave me a different lens to look at it as well. Because at the time, I was dealing with a lot of, I wasn't able to deal with my anger very well. And I was still reeling off a heart attack from like 2 years before that. And some stuff that was entangled in that to do with emotional, what's the word? My emotional senses, because I had a sort of emotional blindness.
Mm.
And he gave me this idea because he was able to tune in and feel these aspects of me. And he said, yeah, so this anger that comes out in you, it's actually what we call in neo-shamanism a protector spirit. And this is why this is happening. And this is the reason why you created that. And it's not something you're meant to demonize, but it's something you're meant to understand and talk to, dialogue with you. It's a piece of your consciousness. So try and work with it from that angle. And I didn't fully understand what the hell he was saying, but I worked with what I could get. And that helped get the ball rolling, and it changed my insight on mental health and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. And
know?
actually, what he was doing is also very comparable to like IFS, internal family systems in therapy. And this part of the conversation, right, reminds me actually that a healer is a healer is a healer. Like I was talking to a friend in London who was going through, quote unquote, traditional analysis. And I could see that he was getting a lot of help from this individual. And as we were talking about this individual, I guess my meaning his psychotherapist, my senses were coming online and I was starting to visualize this guy and I was like, oh, he's a total healer. And some therapists are total healers, and some psychics are total healers, and some body workers are total healers. And the healer is the healer is the archetype that makes a difference.
Mm.
And the other, I think, and it's where all of these people and modalities meet. And then it's just like these are, I feel like whether you're a psychic or a therapist or a, somatic healer or whatever, they're like the offshoots.
Mm.
But the point is to help someone become more of themselves,
Yes, I agree with.
therefore be more available to other people.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like the mechanism that's happening is that we're activating a sense of integration in ourselves with all the stuff we've dealt with. And then in our field, we're holding all these frequencies and we, repel or attract people based on that. And then we help them integrate something in themselves and we're just increasing connection. And it's like we're cells in this giant being learning how to reunify instead of separate and become free radical cells, like, little little cancer cells in the creator or whatever the heck we are.
Selfish shitbags.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Hey,
you were giving such a beautiful analogy, and I just brought it right into the gutter. But
no, that's perfect. That's how we should be doing
yeah,
anything with British born,
yeah, we got a British-born face
or
humor.
bring it back to the gutter.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so 101 for anyone who's interested. What would you suggest in terms of like ethical ways to grow your psychic power?
Okay. It varies from person to person, but a couple of common ways. If you're clairaudient,
Refer
when
to
you are,
Zen.
oh yeah, sorry, I probably should explain it.
Yeah,
All right.
please go over the different kinds of psychicness.
So consider the psychic senses as expansions of things we have in our motor function. Right? So hearing, clairaudience, but clairaudience, uh, an evolved version of it is going to sound like you're hearing voices outside your head that aren't physically represented by anything. Low level clairaudience, and that's not to diss it, right? This is more like the common level. That's more like hearing a thought in your head that has a slightly different texture to your own thought. And it could be just a spoken phrase, or it could sound like your own thought, but feel like a slightly different thought, usually a little more elevated. There is a sensory aspect to it, and it's subtle, and you've got to play with that to find your own relationship to that. So that's clairaudience. Claircognizance is knowing. That's probably one of the most common clairs in modern society because we've also been encouraged to know more, and data has been elevated as this gold standard of thing. So claircognizance is like, okay, I know I'm supposed to go down this road, not this road, even though Google's telling me go this way. And then, you turn the street and sure enough, you see something that you're supposed to see, or you find out that there was an accident on the other road. Um, Clairsentience is feeling in your body. And that would be you feel sensations as if you're feeling the other person. But an abstract of that or you're feeling their sensations. But an abstract of that is that you might get messages about them that through your body, and use your body as an interpretive tool for those messages. So yeah, that stuff gets trippy. I do that with remote viewing to help me get more data, and it's just more fun. It's like playing like a detective in one of them crime scenes. So that's clairsentience. Clairtangency is touch. So that could be, let's say you had a cat who passed away. Suddenly you feel a cat rub against your leg, but there's no cat there physically. Or someone touches you on the shoulder. That usually happens with spirits or mediumship work.
Oh, you just brought something online for me, I think.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I had a, my, gosh, my paternal grandmother passed a long time ago, and I wasn't particularly close to her when she passed.
Hmm.
And about, gosh, I don't know, 10 to 15 years after that, she I felt like she came to me. What happened is I was just lying in bed, and then I felt this kind of warm kind of breeze around me, and it had her sort of essence, and it also had some of her scent on it, so I could sort of like I guess I could feel and smell her.
Mhm.
And it was also connected to my heart, and it wasn't like, oh, it's her, I love her, because I didn't feel like that. It was like she was coming to, something had changed in her or something, and it felt like a sort of a blessing.
That's nice.
And it was I've never had another experience like that. I've had lots of strange experiences, but that was very unique.
That also tells, so one of the things that also happens when a deceased person shows, this is a common thing, clairsalience, that's smell.
Yeah, because it was I think feeling and smell
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah.
And usually you get things like their perfume. My ex-wife's mum showed up once in the living room, roses, and we had 7 animals. So with a litter box in the house for 4 cats.
That must have been very welcome.
Yeah, it was. Where's this bush of roses? Where's the cat shit smell gone? It was shocking. But then there was the added sensation of this vibration that was very similar to anxiety, but outside of my skin. So it was like it was coming inward rather than radiating from inward to outside.
Did you
That was
have a sense of what
wow.
that message was about?
Well, eventually, because she was psychic, the ex-wife was psychic as well. Um, it felt like she was coming to just sort of reconnect and say sorry for all the crappy things she did,
Mm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was one. But yeah, the other one, uh, a friend of mine's dad passed away, used to just chuff cigars like a machine. Sure enough, start smelling cigars in his bedroom with the window sealed. There's no one out smoking cigars or cigarettes or anything like that. That's usually that's one of the most common ways that they make themselves known.
Mm.
Smell, flashing lights. Um, Friend of mine, she inherited her dad's house after he passed away. And while we were there, she talked about him. Light next to her just started flashing. And it was one of those like LED color bulbs. And I look at it and I go, John, is that you? And then it goes, lots of little flashes. So, all right, can you flash 3 for yes, 2 for no? He goes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Oh
I
my
go, right, Kerry, talk to him. Ask him binary questions. And she's like, oh my God, okay. So she starts doing it and it worked.
Wow.
If they can get hold of something in material reality, you
Mm.
can ask them to give you a binary code and talk to them.
Like the Ouija board.
I would never, ever, ever advocate anyone touching a Ouija board. Burn that fucking thing, get it out of your house. I'm not
Okay.
kidding. Yeah, don't
Okay.
fuck with those.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Because
you can open doors to things that you don't know. Because when
yeah.
people play with a Ouija board, there's no setup. There's no, okay, here's how you protect your space. Here's what you got to make sure is not going on in your ego at the time. Make sure you cleanse yourselves, set these intentions. There's none of that. And
This is good because now we're easing into the way that you should work. So we went, of course, on a tangent, right? Through the so we've been through the clairs, right? We've been through all the different. Oh, is it one more?
Clairvoyance,
One
vision
more.
in mind.
Yeah.
For most people, clairvoyance will be mind's eye imagery, sometimes abstract, sometimes literal. For really advanced clairvoyance, they see stuff overlaid in reality. I've only had that maybe once or twice. And
I
one
mean,
time,
like augmented reality. It's touch
yes.
screens. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I've seen it. Other people, they describe that it would be more like a faint thing.
Mm,
When I first came online, it was like a knowing of something and then seeing almost an outline of an auric field,
yeah.
very subtle. And
That's
now it's just
where
a
I'm at.
knowing.
I'll get glimpses of auric field, and then I get
Mm,
third eye, like I get projections against the screen of my own mind for other people, but I don't see it as a in real space. The only thing I can see in real space is yeah, like the faintest auric sometimes. So I guess
So,
I'm a baby psychic.
yeah, no, it's not you're a baby psychic. That's all fine. It's just sometimes people will have really strong development in certain clairs.
Mm,
Now,
mhm.
and you might have flashes of it too. So, like, I'm not an amazing clairvoyant, but I've had those experiences that
Yeah.
have flashed in. And I think the strong actually, yeah, the strongest clairvoyant experience I had was with a Toltec black mirror technique, where you hold a black mirror, you make your eyes go wonky in a very particular posture. They name them after birds, and you're intentionalizing that one of your ancestors whose energy is holding you back appears in front of you. And I shit you not,
Wow.
a face and it's in complete darkness minus a tiny, tiny candlelight, like a super faint candlelight. And I shit you not, the face of this old woman ancestor apparated in my face, and I nearly just jumped and shat my pants at the same time. It, yeah. And yeah, I was like, oh my God.
So did you hang in there with her and find out some more or not?
Well, after my heart rate came down, because it was like a jump scare from the
Yeah.
I tried to tap back in, but it's like that thing where you're chasing the dragon and the thing with
Yeah.
spirit work. If your ego starts getting tied up in it, it makes it harder to
Mhm.
open up to that. I did connect with, I think, who it was later in some dream work. But yeah, I haven't done the Black Mirror practice since.
Yeah, that sounds
One,
really interesting. I mean, mirror work is a whole other conversation, but okay, we're going to stay on track. We're going to
yes.
so if you're a fledgling psychic, if you're a new psychic, if you want to develop your psychic powers,
Hmm.
do we need to know where the gift is, or do you just kind of reach out and say, like, help me develop my intuition? I mean,
Yeah. There's no one way. There's no
yeah,
one way. There's, if you do know where you're, so most people, when they are interested in playing with this, they've had passive experiences or spontaneous experiences, not ones that they feel they were in control of.
yeah.
And they want to know, well, how do I access this more regularly? And if you can first identify how that came to you, did you feel it? Did you see it? Did you smell it? Did you touch it? If you can articulate that, then you can go down a path of deepening that sensory aspect of yourself. So if it's clairaudience, when you listen to music, try and hone in on specific instruments and just do your best to perceive them as richly as possible while not perceiving as much of the rest of the instruments.
So
And
you're sharpening your focus.
yes.
Yeah.
And what's happening is that you're training yourself to deepen that focus, that perception and awareness in that specific Claire bias. And that's one way people train. Another way is that when you're, where I find people have the most resistance to their intuition, it's in feeling. So feeling their emotions, feeling connected, allowing their sensitivity to come through, period.
Yeah.
Right? If they have any challenges with that, then addressing that in some form, allowing them to feel more, that opens up everything else. Doesn't even matter what your clairs are. even if you're not clairsentient. That will help. That will help that clair, but it will help all of them. What else? That, yeah, that's for the folks who are dealing with sensitivity issues. Now, the other side is doubt. So usually when you have people who are online with their intuition and they want to use it on demand, the thing stopping them is actually the belief that they can. And usually it's a mix of beliefs from, parents, preachers, politicians, whatever, that they need to distance themselves from honoring their emotions and honoring the intuitive, honoring the intangible, acknowledging it as something meaningful. And that can be done, you can go to a hypnotherapist to do that work, but also there's a neo-shamanic technique I'll share with you guys. So if you consider that doubt, things like doubt, fear, shame, uh, just as one set, are individual energetic intelligences, but let's call them spirits in the neo-shamanic tradition, right? Spirit. Let's say doubt is a spirit created to protect you or called in to protect you. Now, what does doubt protect you from?
Um, Charging ahead into danger.
Charging ahead into danger, looking stupid. Like if you said a bunch of psychic stuff that was just flat wrong to your tribe, they might look at you funny.
Right. Discernment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's not an evil force. It's something we call in to stop us from, maybe getting too crazy, too big, and then getting shunned from the tribe, which is a very real primal fear. Because if you couldn't go back to the tribe, you couldn't eat, you couldn't sleep, you were trying to sleep up a tree and not get eaten by lions. So what we can do is when we feel doubt come up, really tune in. All right, really tune in, try and center yourself in your heart, slow your breath if you can. And when that doubt arises, notice where you have a sensation in the body first. And when you find it, address that feeling, knowing when you address it, you're connecting with the energy of that spirit through the sensation. Say, Spirit of doubt, thank you for protecting me. I call upon you now to change your operation to one of allowing more faith come through me so I can embody more of my intuition and allow it to work through me. And I take a big breath in the nose, big breath out the mouth. I empty the mind of expectation and I observe what starts to arise in my body as sensory data. And I'll either feel something tighten up, which is telling me there's resistance for letting go of the protection of the spirit of doubt, or I'll feel some kind of relieving experience, some kind of, oh, this feels nice. And then that's when I know, okay, let me try this again. And if I get the tightening experience, I do that invocation again. And the formula is that I address with sincerity the spirit of doubt. I use the sensation in my body, which will likely arise. In fact, every time I've done this, a sensation in the body arises. There's usually some kind of density linked to it. I connect through that with sincerity, with belief that I can. And then I say, thanks for protecting me. I honor its work. And then I say, please change your nature. Not can you, or I call upon you. That's even better. It's more affirmative, but it's not bullying. Doesn't have that aggro edge to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're talking to a part of yourself. If someone talked to you like that, you'd probably be like, fuck off, mate. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I call upon you to change your nature to this that I actually need to receive and embody my intuition and allow it to come through and pursue this experience of myself. That's the essence of the forming. The breath in, really pulling the air into the nose. You're pulling in, life force energy or what feeds life force. Breathe out the mouth, empty the mind of expectation, you're clearing your mind using breath and visualization and feeling, and you're letting what arises arise, purely sensory, and it'll be a mix, and
Mm,
that gives you the feedback.
mm.
It works
Yeah.
really,
So you move into a kind of a sensory based meditation.
yeah. And
Yeah.
you may need to repeat the invocation a few times, like so folks who are very intellectual, like the walls are quite strong.
Mm,
I've been through it, right? And a few times you will crack it, it'll open up and you'll do a little better, or you'll do a lot better.
mm.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that actually. As you were speaking, I was thinking about, you and I are new friends, if I may be so bold as to call us friends. We've only had a couple of hangs really. And my impression of you is that there is a lot of spaciousness inside you. And I find you very easy to talk to because I don't feel like there's a lot, I'm quite sensitive energetically. And so I pick up on whether people are sort of like fucking around inside themselves. So to speak, you know what I mean? Like that there's the thing that the person is saying, and then there's the other material, and it's one of the annoying parts of my gift is that hangs around, sometimes even socially, right? Um, but you do feel pretty clear. You feel spacious to me and open, and like you don't have a lot of things clogging you up. Is that your nature, or is that work you've done on yourself?
That's definitely work I've done on myself because it definitely wasn't like that. Oh boy. And
Yeah.
honestly, like based on what I've been dealing with recently, I'm surprised that's my review. So
Yeah,
great.
you
Thank
got a
you.
good review. I mean, look, if we had 8 more hangs, maybe I'd say something completely different. But here we are.
Exactly.
Anyway, here we are. Or
Sitting down having
like
plant
maybe it's
medicine
more like
together.
relative to me. You seem to not have like.
Well,
I mean, I have got a lot of shit going on in my brain, so there's that.
you feel pretty clear too.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm definitely I'm more open than I used to be, and I'm definitely more heart centered, and that's where I want to go. I'm definitely interested in that. But my natural orientation, the gravitational pull has been towards the head. So there's been,
Oh, right. Yeah.
you know what I mean? The overthinker situation.
That is so common.
It's so
And
common.
yeah. And I mean it makes sense because we've been told that our minds, our thinking is the dominant way to connect with our existence and this
Right.
reality.
And to figure things out, to figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah.
And it's utter shit. It's so
Yeah.
limiting.
Yeah.
It's crippling. And that's what, honestly, that mentality at an extreme is what led to my heart attack. You know,
Mm-hmm.
emotional sense. I wish we had the wisdom we do now about how important emotions are to honor as a piece of our survival and a piece of our health.
So
Uh,
tell me about what just a little more on like what the heart attack was about.
so there were two things going on. Well, maybe three. There's a I didn't know about ancestral trauma at this time. I didn't know any of this stuff really. Um, yeah. So dad, his dad passed away in his arms with a heart attack, and dad was 13. So he was one of six brothers and all of this stuff. And then and he's in his 70s. If he talks about his dad, he starts cracking immediately. Like it's still fresh.
Mm.
And my godfather passed away when I was very young as well, and I fucking loved that dude.
Mm.
But grief is something that our systems have a bias towards feeling a massive amplication. So anything to do with grief historically has like brought me to my knees. And there's been a lot of death recently. But back then, I was going through some grief processes, particularly in a relationship. And I was also going through putting pressure on myself to be someone who could provide for her suddenly, because she'd moved into my place, started, a study program, but then suddenly she wasn't earning, and then I was paying a significant chunk above what I was paying, and blah blah blah. So that all of that together and my lack of emotional sense meant when I would push myself in physical exercise, and physical exercise is somatic work, it is. We just don't really talk about it that way, but it's unintentional somatic work. So I'm on this run down on Santa Monica Beach, and I'm feeling a great weakness in me, and my eyes are pinholing almost like I'm having a panic attack, but I don't know what a panic attack is, and I don't actually recognize anxiety in my body. And my body was trying to give me anxiety to tell me, hey, stop, you're pushing it. But I couldn't actually feel the full signal. And I know this now because I know what it feels like, but I didn't then. I just had the physical attributes of it minus I don't know what you call them, but I guess the biochemical, uh, the bit that connects the brain experience to the body experience. There's like that bit in the middle where,
Biofeedback. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like flushes and things like that in the body. I didn't have any of that. It was just the really hard motor function senses. And I get to a point on that trail where it feels like Tyson punches me in the back of the ribs, and I get this knowing kick in, like someone's telling me, lay the fuck down. Like no ambiguity. It's like in the tone of shut the fuck up, get on the floor right now. So I did. And I crawled to a little thing on the side, looked at my watch, blinked 45 minutes past. And then when I finally sat up, because I think I basically passed out. When I sat up, my blood was on fire and all this other stuff. And I, didn't have enough money to go to the hospital. Got on a bus and went to sleep for about 18 hours when I got home. And never talked about it again. Just went on with my life. But I didn't feel right after that. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, a psychic actually asked me, like, how are you doing? And I said, not that great. And they said, oh, interesting, your health. Oh, wait, you're describing all these things about, people you've had in your past, people you've had romantic relationships with. And it sounds like you're describing anxiety, not love. I said, what's anxiety? And they then said to me, oh, yeah, you might want to look into this condition. Also, I think you had a heart attack a few years ago. That might have something to do with this. And I went, oh, wait, I have never told anyone about that. How the fuck do you know about that? And that got me on another track. But yeah, I found out the condition that someone could diagnose me with and eventually did, called alexithymia. And it's a Greek word, I think, for blind, emotionally blind or emotional corruption, like the data's corrupted. And the only way I can describe it is imagine your palette of, say, 70 emotions is like cables that go into the back of an amp at a nightclub, right? And each one's a different sound. Take those 70 cables and squeeze them into 5 ports, and those are the only emotions that you can actually experience.
Aren't you describing men?
No,
Sorry, that was
no, it's okay. We have like 15, maybe not the 70, but 15, 30 if we're, in therapy. But yeah, not feeling anxiety and now being able to feel anxiety is a fucking trip.
Oh, well, I bet it. I mean, not feeling anxiety sounds kind of nice in a way, but obviously not to the extent that you're talking about.
No. And the weird part is you can't empathize with people.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
meaningfully. So you're actually a little sociopathic. And I remember being a real dick to some people and actually having no idea I was being a dick.
That's a great thing to talk about because I think that's probably true in a lot of extreme dick cases.
Extreme dick diagnosis.
The entitlement of a extreme dick, right? Is like, I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm just being what I'm being. I'm doing what I'm here for.
Yeah. It's like that Trump thing where he goes, "Oh yeah," or I don't know if he says it or they say it, but yeah, I think his supporters say, "Oh, he's just speaking his mind." Like, yeah, and he's also a sociopath. So don't expect much there. There's not going to be revelatory, empathic insights from that fella. But yeah,
you know where we might get some revelatory insights?
Yes.
Your cats.
Well, Shall I call upon them now?
Yeah, let's call upon your cats. And I'm just going to say to the person listening, the cats are actual cards that Daniel has made, and they're like tarot cards, but they are, each one has a different cat on it, and each cat has a different kind of archetype. So they're amazing. So let's pull, what do you think, 4 or 5 cards for the listener in terms of, developing their psychic powers.
Okay. All right. Let me tune in. All right. I see that you have. All right. I'm getting information before I'm even pulling cards. I see that you have quite a range of listeners, and there's definitely people that fit the exact um, archetype of psychic, intersex, and psychedelics all together. And they're quite discerning, and they're a lot more advanced than they think they are. They just don't have the language for it in some cases. And let's see, what is in their field specifically? I think I'm being pulled to like a 30% of your most excited listeners,
Okay.
that particular cluster. Okay. They want information in a slightly nerdier way that I would normally do on these. All right, so I'm going to get
Give it
nerdy.
what they want, man.
Yep,
Let's do it.
let's do it. Okay, so 5 cards that may inspire. I'm going to lay them out, then I'll show them. That
Okay.
may
And
inspire.
remember, this is going to be principally audio, but we can also put something on Instagram and hopefully on
Oh,
YouTube as well.
okay. I can take a photo.
We just need to use the words as well to show the cards. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm getting some major psychic archetypes. So I believe what I'm getting is key advisement points that will assist all of these folks in expanding their psychic ability. All right. So the first one, the alchemist.
Oh, perfect.
The fun little kitty. Okay, so what is the specific advice here? All right. Use the darkness as an ally and to ground that into something practical where you feel okay, this is just coming through channel, so it might not, I'm just going to let it roll. Where you might feel lost or betrayed or failed, let the feeling activate, connect to the sensation in your body, let it activate, and then talk to it. And talk to it like a friend and say to it, what do you need to guide me to so that I can see where I've been giving my power away? And then ask it through gradual questions to lead you to what you need to pursue that will allow the disempowerment of that feeling to be dissolved. Right? Because it's not about the feeling. The feeling isn't bad. The feeling isn't inherently your enemy. It's just a signal, it's just a message, but the energy density in it is always linked to something that's old and painful and, in our DNA. And in speaking to it as an ally, honoring it, and asking it to guide you, it can help you reach the place of empowerment, because these are the things that will, you can do all the psychic protection rituals and wear all the psychic protective jewelry that you can muster. But if your subconscious is calling in that energy because it's longing to have it acknowledged within and activated and expressed through and released, you're going to keep pulling in that stuff. And where you might label people as dirty or bad energy, what you might actually be identifying is that person is carrying a frequency that resonates with the one that you feel most disempowered by, and that's what's bringing you down, and that's what's causing that psychic vulnerability that drains your energy. So it's not that they're bad, it's that there's this disempowering emotion and you haven't learned to work with it yet. So that is alchemist.
Alchemist cat.
Okay.
Number two.
Next is the High Priestess.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And the High Priestess is usually an archetype, a psychic archetype, usually assigned to women or very female people. And basically, what this archetype represents is the higher channels of intuition. So, being able to receive messages from guides, being able to speak to the deceased, being able to speak to other beings. And the difficulty, the challenge of being this particular archetype is being grounded and knowing what's real, knowing what your knowing when your specialness desire, that hunger that perhaps lifts you away from feeling the mundane and the heavy and those things that might disempower you per card number one. Knowing when that is inspiring you to pursue that balm for the I'm not special enough wound versus when you're actually getting information from a being and it's coming through you, but it isn't you. Because one of the things that does stump people who have this archetypal energy, but don't necessarily understand the wounding that is attached to it, is you will get visitations, soft or extreme, of other beings, spirits, other energies coming through you. And the specialness wound will cause us to want to identify as them. And that is not what you need. No, 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 no. They are just there to teach you.
Yeah, you are you. You're not any of your guides. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a really weird thing for people to get the hang of at first if they've got no, support or community. So what else to tell you from this one? When you get those voices, talk to them and talk to them in a friendly manner. But if you feel something's off, trust that that's a signal to check in with yourself and see if you're off, because you might also be interacting with spirits that are of a lower density and they're a little more human in their nature, And it's not like they can harm you, but they can definitely distract you, drain your energy for a bit, waste your time. Yeah? So that's the High Priestess. Boom. Okay. Woo. The next one, I haven't given this guy a name. I really should.
Wow.
Yeah. The message of this card is about committing.
It looks a bit like a shaman cat for someone
Yeah.
listening.
He is from the
Black cat
shaman.
with feathers in its hair holding a chalice.
Yes. He is from the shaman side of the deck. And originally, this was what I drew for the King of Cups. But then I decided, screw tarot, I'm just going to do Oracle deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, this one is largely about making a choice and a commitment and grounding in it. One of the things that folks in the spiritual path can get stuck in terms of a loop is that there's a term psychologists call magical thinking. And I thought it was people crapping on magic. So I was not okay with that. But a psychologist friend who's into magic made it very clear to me what it meant. And it's when you just get stuck in these loops of just thinking, everything's going to sort itself out and I don't have to do anything. It's like abandoning your agency.
Yeah.
And predeterminism is one of those illusions that those folks tend to fall into. And then 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year passes and they're stuck in the same place and they're dissatisfied and possibly going into a depression because they haven't grown. They haven't taken authority of their life. So it's important that even if you don't know what your purpose is, or whatever it is you're looking for, it's important that you make a choice and choose something to explore yourself. And you're going to rub up against something if it's the wrong path or if an adjustment needs to be made. So make choices, commit to things.
Make choices and take actions. Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is a bunch of Roman cats on bikes trying to figure out where to go. Okay. Now, one of the challenges of the sensitive person is reaction.
Mm.
And a lot of people will use the term "you're too sensitive." Obviously, that's total crap. Sensitivity is a gift. What they're probably trying to say is that your reactions may seem, and that's if they're not manipulative or trying to gaslight you. They might be just trying to tell you your reactions seem very strong for this subject matter. Are you okay? Right? And part of why is in culture, we've been taught that conflict is actually combat. And conflict is not combat. Not always. If someone's trying to hit you, yeah, it's combat. Fine. But conflict is really one of the most transformative gates we have. And you can totally disagree with someone, and they can totally disagree with you. And you don't have to dislike each other. I mean, it depends what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to turn into anything awful or violent. It can just be a moment for empathy, deciding where you want to point your compass next, discerning and going for it. You know, it doesn't have to be anything awful. So if conflict is something that brings you discomfort, this is your sign to look at when conflicts arise. Are you feeling disempowered because there's a part of you that's afraid that it's a form of combat and you will be overpowered or lose? Yeah. Final card, the Duchess. All right, and she's
Okay, this is a cat looking to the heavens, surrounded by money and
yeah,
love. Okay.
yeah, and she looks quite dreamy and happy, and she's got money falling down
Yeah, looks
around her.
kind of like good news.
Yeah, and she's wearing the money.
She is the money.
She is. Oh, I've got to plug in my laptop. Excuse me a moment.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Save the day. So, oops. So yes, the Duchess of Money. Her message is that we've been trained to look at money as the prize and look at money as the thing to follow in a lot of ways. And right now, the pressure to do that because of external circumstances is quite high. And this is a very strong calling to pay attention to her face. She's looking up above, but with dreamy eyes, and she's kind of smiling a little bit. There's hope in her eyes, there's a sense of desire. She doesn't look lost, right? Inspiration. Follow inspiration. Trust inspiration. Money will come. And that's a very hard thing to say to people because it sounds like one of those spiritual platitudes. It's BS. But honestly, anytime I've been in a really, really tough spot financially, and I've been in a lot of them, yeah, when I have followed that ping of inspiration, it has led somewhere that has granted me rewards, whether they're actually money or some form of abundance, wealth, whatever. A friend with a mansion basically calls me up and goes, "Oh, yeah, I wanted to catch up." Oh, wait a minute. Um, do you do house sitting? My place is going to be available for a month. Do you want to chill in my freaking mansion? Sure, that sounds lovely. Thank you. Want me to water the plants? You know, things like that can happen. And when I went on my travels, God, like 6, 7 years ago now, I was just running off my savings and following the inspiration. It makes it a lot easier when you got savings, right? Because you can just go for it, go on whatever silly escapade that you want. But I can confirm that following your inspiration leads to repeated synchronicities, interesting meetings, sudden transformations of your life circumstance. And I probably should write it all up at some point.
Well,
But
absolutely, absolutely. And it's reminding me of what a sex educator said to me once was follow the pussy tingle, which is
follow the
another
pussy.
which
I
is
haven't heard this
another
one.
way
All
of
right.
saying, but it's basically follow, make sure in your work, you know, that you're not just doing it just because, you know, you're doing it because you're actually turned on, whether you want to call it inspirational pussy tingle or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I think I totally agree with that. Don't put away those cards if you haven't already.
Oh, bugger. Okay, hold on.
Okay,
I
well,
remember them. It's okay.
we do actually have to close, and it's actually a perfect closing, I think, which is following inspiration. And tell us where to find you if you want to be found.
Okay, I do like being found by the right people.
Hmm.
So if you are the right people, I am at the Magic Mechanic, but magic with a CK. So Magic Magick at yeah, the Magic Mechanic on Instagram, the Magic Mechanic with dots between the words on TikTok. That one's new. Or themagicmechanic.com on web. And I am actually putting out a psychic development course, which I'm calling Everyday Psychic, and it will be out probably very soon, probably by the time this is out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay, amazing.
maybe I'll give a fancy code for you guys specifically to have a special discount.
Please,
I
do.
like being nice like that.
Please do.
Yes.
Thank you, darling. Thank you so much. Love talking with you today.
Yeah, me too. That was fun.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next time, maybe we'll talk about curses and psychedelics,
Psychedelics,
sessions, and all kinds of
yeah.
crazy stuff.